Well, Paul's Larrivee, and it's in for a complete refret, and we will cut a new saddle. This is a lefty, by the way, and we will cut a corresponding compensated nut as well. And it looks like there has been some type of adhesive. So this must have had a refret at some time in the past, because there is adhesive in there. We'll heat them and pull them. So this fingerboard is now corrected. I do not glue frets in, and I'm going to probably set off a bunch of alarm bells by saying this. I like to get a mechanical fit. The only time I use any type of super glue or adhesive is on a maple neck, and you've seen me do that. Or if there's one loose fret or something, okay, I'll go with that. But generally, I like to get a good mechanical fit. So I've got 3 saws that I use. I have this one that I sort of cut back. These are all Japanese saws. They cut on the pull stroke. So this one allows me, because I've relieved that, it allows me to get in right tight to the binding and then scrape like so. Then I come on the other side and same deal. Once I've done that, this saw allows me to get right in tight to the binding. I go over this several times to clean that slot out and get it ready for the new frets. These ones were all filled up with epoxy, so I'm sparing you the agony of watching me clean all that out. Okay, so now around to the other side. Same deal here. I get it nice and tight. There's teeth on this edge, that's why I got that piece of leather on there. That allows me to get in good and tight, like so. This job is already done. I'm just kind of illustrating so you understand what I just went through to get to this stage. Now I have a 10 thou curve, very thin blade that I use just to kind of loosen up any debris in there before I vacuum it out. Now, and this fingerboard is completely ready. Oh, a little bit of debris there. And we are ready to put the new frets in. Now I can actually go side to side on this too. This blade also allows me to get in good and tight to the binding. Good, we're ready for frets. You have seen me do this before in other videos. I put in what I refer to as my pilot frets. So I've got the 11th fret and the 3rd fret, and these are 51/100, 51 thou high, 100 thou thick. And I'm sliding up to the bridge just to verify, yeah, we got a perfect neck angle now. So I did do a little bit of correction with my sanding blocks. Now that we've got Paul's Larrivee absolutely perfect, the neck to body angle, I'm sitting on top of the crown of the 11th fret and 3rd fret and going up to the bridge, and it doesn't get any better than that. We will always have control over the height of the action on this guitar. Patrick is one of my students from Arizona, and he'd asked me to give everybody a play-by-play on how I deal with this overhang on bound fingerboards. So step 1, this is right off the loop. I did feed this through that roller and gave it just a little bit of extra radius. So we cut that to length, over length first, step 1. Now where you make the cut, the fret's a little bit mashed. So for step 2, I take my end nippers and cut that back square on both sides. So that's how much overhang I leave before I nip off the tang to undercut the crown. Next step, it's exactly what I do. I kind of nip that tang off. Let's go back to the guitar and have a look. So the next step, so I just wanted to show you, the tang is just a little bit shy of the binding on both sides, and you can see that the fret is over radiused. So you got to make sure that you don't have that tang so tight that when you drive the fret in, you push the binding off. But we have a couple more steps to do before we actually drive that fret home. So next, even though that nipper has kind of clipped off the tang, I don't trust it 100%. There's always a little bit of the tang left on the underside of the crown. So I gently flush that with the underside of the crown. Both sides, same thing. Okay. Now it's dead flat. So this is the next step. This is very important. I take those end nippers and I kind of grab on to that overhang. Well, I still got something to grab onto, and I flex that back a little bit, and then I clip it off. The operative term here is to flex. So I've got enough of that overhang to kind of grab with the end nippers, and then I just flex it up a little bit and then clip it off. Okay, next. Now with the stationary disc sander, I've got this on a foot switch, the air switch. I'm just squaring it up and shortening it a little bit. Other side, same thing, square it up. I'm going to take a little bit more off this side. Now once that's done, I approximate the bevel. Okay, next step. Now that we've got that fret almost perfect, now, and again I've got this on a foot switch, I can load that up with some compound, and I buff out that end. Let's go have a look. So now we back up that head brace with my lead weight, and the head block, of course, is right under this, and then we send that fret home. And that's how I achieve that kind of tolerance all the way across. Perfect amount of overhang. There's no chance of loosening up the fret because we're just taking off a thou or so. That is the procedure I use for every single fret all the way up. So obviously I'm not going to film every fret. I just wanted to give you the detail on that fret, on those first two. By the way, I moved this one up because I cut it too short, kind of blabbering away at the camera. Lost my concentration level and cut it. And that is the reason why you start with the longest fret, last fret, and make your way towards the nut for the shortest fret. If you blow one, not a big deal, you just move up a couple spaces. Now we're on with the rest of the job. Before I do the edge dress, I just thought I'd bring you in and show you. This is the completed fret installation, and this is my rough cut length. So I'll set the camera up now for that edge dress. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my right hand for the file and starting at the first fret and overlapping my strokes as I make my way back. I didn't use epoxy. I didn't use super glue or any type of adhesive. This is a good mechanical press fit. It's what I prefer to do. Like, there are some instances where I do use some type of adhesive, but very rarely. And that's it for the treble side. As far as leveling goes, we've still got a bit more work yet. Okay, so let's finish it up. So you can see, and you can also hear, there's not a lot of resistance to that file. Not taking very much at all to bring these frets in flush. All that extra work to get that ultra close tolerance, all that extra work to get that ultra close tolerance, this is where it pays off. If you remember, I actually gently flexed that overhang down before I knocked the fret in, so that kind of guarantees a nice tight fit on that outside edge. And that's it for the base side. We still have to buff it out, but Yeah, that's all it took. So this is the final tuning check for Paul's left-handed Larrivee. First string open, 12th fret, 7th fret, and octave. Open again and first fret. Second string, 7th, 19th, open, and first fret. Third string, octave, 7th fret, octave, open, and first fret. Fourth string, 7th, octave, and first. Fifth string. Sixth string. Now I will make my feeble attempt at playing chords left-handed. So I'm going to go through the wrap-up before I subject you to my feeble attempt playing left-handed. So there is our compensated nut, left-handed compensated nut. And that is our left-handed compensated bridge. It is cantilevered ever so slightly, middle two strings. That's been a given with Larrivee right out of the gate. His guitars were always great for tuning. But we did tweak that a little bit. Middle two strings had to cantilever past the saddle slot to get them perfect. So these are the new frets, and they of course overhang the plastic binding. This is the other side of the bound fingerboard. Now I did a little bit of correction with the fingerboard and made sure that I did a little bit of ramp down at that neck to body junction to the sound hole. You got to remember, this is a non-adjustable neck, no adjustable truss rod in this one. So there's basically zero forgiveness. You have to take into account that you're relying on the string pull, in this case they're EJ16s at concert pitch, about 162 pounds load, to pull that neck up into a little bit of relief, which we did. And we've got the action close, but not too close. So let's take a look at the lay of the neck, the string along the lay of the neck from the nut to the bridge. That is our bass side action. You can see there's just a hint of relief. Our treble side, and that is a view from the back side of the compensated nut, and there is a close-up view of the leading edge of the compensated nut.